Welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to learn all about digestion and your microbiome. Let's get started. First, let's begin to understand why gut health is so important. Hippocrates once said, "All disease begins in the gut." And while that might not be entirely true, increasing studies have shown that a number of conditions are linked to our gut health. First off, our digestive system is important because it protects us from pathogens entering our system. It distinguishes self from not self. It also provides a breakdown and absorption of all the nutrients we need to sustain our life. It is important because our gut rids us of toxins and waste products. And we have so many gut microbes that produce certain vitamins and other key nutrients to nourish our colon. In fact, our intestines contain over 60% of our immune function. So that's very important for our health and well-being. And the gut has also been called the second brain because it contains an enteric nervous system with over 30 neurotransmitters. It produces 90% of our serotonin and 50% of our dopamine. So it's critical for how we relate to the world and our mood. So how do you know if you have a healthy gut? Well, here are some signs. You will have no unpleasant digestive symptoms, or very few. You will have consistent energy throughout the day. You poop twice a day. Yes, that is optimal. You have a balanced mood and mental clarity, a healthy appetite, including when you wake up in the morning, and you can maintain a healthy weight. That's relatively easy to maintain. And you need to notice that this might not be your ideal weight, but it's a weight that is best for your unique body. You will have clearer skin and minimal joint aches and migraines. And let's talk again about poop a little bit. Constipation is a big deal. It is common, but it is not normal. So if this is something that you suffer with, I want to make sure you look in the resources and check out the helpful tips there, because pooping daily is a key to detoxifying. Let's take a few minutes to understand the digestive process. First of all, digestion is a north to south process, and it happens in a relaxed state. So not your fight or flight state, but a parasympathetic state. So as you can see from this diagram, digestion begins in your brain with the thought, sight, or smell of food before you've even taken a bite. The next step will be the chewing of food and with saliva to help break that down. The food will then travel into your stomach where HCl or hydrochloric acid and pepsin further break down the food. It's important to note here that digestion requires adequate stomach acid, and most people do not have enough stomach acid, contrary to belief that people have too much stomach acid. Your liver and gallbladder play important roles in releasing bile to help break down your fats, and the pancreas releases digestive enzymes to finish breaking down food in your small intestine. In the small intestine is where the absorption of your nutrients occurs. And you remember, you are not what you eat, but what you absorb. So you can see how important this north to south process is. Because if one thing goes wrong throughout this chain, it affects everything later on down the line in the process. The large intestine is the final stop, and it is home to trillions of microbes that make up your microbiome. And we're going to talk about that in more detail in a few slides. So how can you improve your digestion? Well, the number one thing you can do is rest to digest. If there's one thing you take away from the whole course, let it be this. Slow down, especially when you're eating. Digestion happens in a parasympathetic state. You should reduce stress around meal times and practice mindfulness. So that means eating your meals sitting down, not running around or in the car, standing up. Take 3 deep breaths before you begin eating to kind of set yourself into that parasympathetic state. And chew your food thoroughly, 15 to 30 times. That's going to help pre-digest it before it gets to your stomach, making it easier to digest, and it will be better absorbed in your small intestine. So important. And the last bullet, eating a balance of all 3 macronutrients, which we talked a lot about that in the last lesson. It's very important. So doing these 3 bullets, most important thing you can do to improve your digestion. So besides rest to digest and balancing those macronutrients, here are some other gut health boosting basics that you could consider. One, to increase bitter foods as they aid in digestion. So you would want to have these before you're eating or before your meal or as part of your meal. Garlic, kale, onions, and dandelion are very helpful. You also want to make sure you're adding in fermented foods so we get the good gut bugs into our microbiome. So our yogurt, sauerkraut, and kimchi. You want to make sure you're eating enough protein, as it's important as a macronutrient. It is also important because it helps to boost your stomach acid production. Eating the rainbow to make sure you're getting all the nutrients you need to support all of your digestive functions. So lots of fruits and vegetables there. Drink plenty of water with electrolytes, which can be a pinch of sea salt or trace mineral drops, which you can just get on Amazon. And that's going to help to create your stomach acid and keep everything moving along, prevent constipation. You may want to consider supplemental stomach acid, that's HCl, hydrochloric acid, or other digestive supports, but you would only want to do that with guidance from a qualified nutritional professional, so something we could talk about in our meeting. Also, limiting antacids and ibuprofen, which dampen our digestive processes, damp down our stomach acid, and impede proper digestion and absorption of our food. As promised, we're going to take a couple minutes to talk about probiotics and your microbiome. So your microbiome is a community of commensal, symbiotic, and pathogenic microbes who live in your large intestine. We can consider this like a garden, with the good gut bugs are the flowers and the bad ones are the weeds. So we want to have a lot of healthy flowers and few weeds. So probiotics are the beneficial microbes themselves. They're live organisms like bacteria and yeast that are found in fermented foods. Yogurt, kimchi, kefir, sauerkraut, for some examples. These can also be supplemented. Prebiotics are food for these beneficial microbes. They include leeks, garlic, onions, Jerusalem artichoke, oats, and burdock. So including these foods regularly in your diet will help to feed those beneficial microbes that we need. And why do we need them? Well, because they produce postbiotics. These are byproducts of the probiotics, and they are short-chain fatty acids, vitamin K2, B vitamins, GABA, and polysaccharides. And these are involved in helping us with our mood and also our energy. So they have important functions, these postbiotics. How do you know if you need a probiotic supplement? Probiotics are used to address specific conditions, often eczema, upset stomachs, other digestive complaints, urinary tract infections. They are also very useful if you've been on a course of antibiotics. I would recommend you taking a probiotic supplement for a period of time. However, they don't need to be taken by all people all the time. The best way to regularly get the right amount of probiotics for you is through the foods listed on this slide. If you feel that you have specific symptoms or needs, then again, this is something you can bring to me in our meeting, and we can talk a little bit more if you might specifically benefit from a probiotic supplement. So here are your healthy belly action steps for this lesson. So I would like you to put rest to digest in practice for each meal or snack for one whole day. So take time to eat sitting down without distractions, taking those 3 deep breaths, chewing your food thoroughly, and making sure you're savoring each bite. Then you're going to grab your journal, and at the end of the day, consider the following questions. Did you find this difficult? Did you feel less digestive discomfort? And was there anything else you noticed, like less bloating or gas, or really anything at all that you noticed?